Yeah, good day everyone. If today is your first time of visiting my channel, please I want you to do well by hitting the subscription button and as well turning the subscription bell on so that any time we post you can be able to see our videos and also watch. Please do not skip this video because when you skip this video you may end up losing one or two steps. Okay, now we have our nitric acid here. We have our nitric acid. These are one of the materials we'll be using to prepare today's practical or this year's practical. So this is sodium carbonate, which is sodium triazocarbonate 4. Here we have our methyl orange as our indicator. Now we have our flask and other materials. Okay, so firstly we need to go through the instruction. So please, on this practical you must follow the instructions the way it is being governed. We are going to be looking at the quantitative analysis of this practical, which is the titration aspect of it. But before we go into the titration, we need to know how these chemicals or the solutions are being prepared according to their instruction. So from there, you look at, they said we should prepare 150 cm cube of trioxonitrate 5 acid solution in a bottle labeled AN. The acid solution, which should be the same for all candidates, will contain 9.50 cm cube of concentrated trioxonitrate 5 acid per dm cube of solution. From their instruction, what they are trying to say here now is that we should measure 9.5 cm cube of this nitric acid, then we dissolve it in 1000 ml, which is equal to 1 dm cube. So please, my advice to you is do not use any other container in measuring. Just use this one. This one is okay. As you can see, once it gets to this particular line here, it is 1000 ml, which is equal to 1 dm cube. Now, in case if you don't want to measure, let's assume you don't want it to get to this 1000 ml. Let's assume you want to measure, let's say 250 ml. All you need to do is you have to divide it by 4 for you to get 250 ml. If you want to prepare 500 ml, you divide it by 2 for you to prepare 500 ml. Okay, so from there now, all we need to do is we are going to measure 9.5 cm cube of this solution. We're going to measure it. So all we need to do is, first of all, you have to pour this into this particular quantity here so that it will be very easy for us. Okay, so we now gently pour in here. Remember what we are asked to measure. We are asked to measure 9.50 cm cube. Okay, so we have our 9.5. Look at it very well. 9.5. So you can see we have our 9.5. Okay, so now we have our 9.5. So this is our volumetric flask, which is our AN filled with water at this particular level. So all we need to do now is we now add this in here. Remember, you don't add water into acid, rather you add acid into water. So that is what we are going to do right now. So they say we should dissolve it in 1000. So we should dissolve it in 1000 dm cube. So now, first of all, you shake it to dissolve it properly. Okay. So now let us begin to fill You fill it with water. Before then, you can now begin. So you must make sure that it doesn't exceed the line there. So you must make sure that it gets to this. Okay, so we have that. Now the next step there is we close it and we try to homogenize it. Now as you can see, we have gotten our AM, which is the acid. Then we keep it aside. Now the next one there is on this particular one, which is the base. So now 150 cm cube of sodium for solution in a bottle labeled BN. The solution, which should be the same for all candidates, will contain 4.20 gram of sodium trioxocarbonate 4 per dm cube of the solution. Okay, now in measuring our sodium trioxocarbonate 4, all we need to do is we make use of this scale, and we turn it on. Okay, so at this point it is at 0.00. Now we now use our filter paper, place on it. Now as you can see, we have our filter paper, and our filter paper is saying 1.02. So all we need now to do is either you minus it after you must have finished weighing it there, or very simple, all you need to do now is you press at this particular button, which is that. Now when you press there, it will correct it to 0.00. Now the next thing you do now is you begin to add your sodium trioxocarbonate 4. We add. Remember, what we are measuring is 4.20. So okay, so at this point we have our 4.20. You can see it very well. We have our 4.20. Okay, all we need to do is we add some water here. Now we use this to dissolve it. As we dissolve, we can now use our stirrer rod to stir, just to make sure that it is properly dissolved. So now after that, we can now go ahead and begin to pour it in. Okay, so now next thing there is we now begin to add. Make sure it doesn't exceed this line. Okay, so finally, Okay, so we have our BN ready now. Now
erase this very well. Okay, so gently.
next step now is for the titration. So move over to the titration. Now on the titration, we have our burette. They are already washed and raised with the chemical. Now we have our pipette. We have our pipette. So on this practical, we are going to be filling our burette with the acid while we pipette the base. Okay, so that is by the way. So now we begin to titrate. You can see the color change. You can see the color change. You can see the color change. So now it is time for us to take our reading. We have 14.0. So we have to pour this one away.